Emily and I are getting ready for our next camping trip, and while we were doing so, we started pulling things aside that we wanted to take with us. And in that conversation, in that packing mode, we started talking about the things that we want with us on every camping trip. So, what I have in front of me is the things that we take on every trip, whether we are in Colorado, whether we're in Texas, wherever we're going. These are things that we always take with us for those trips. So there's 5 items here. It looks like a lot more than 5, but we'll kind of describe why it's 5 while we're going through them. And we don't really have a priority list that we went through. It really was just the order in which we kind of pulled these 5 out. The first thing on our list is our hiking packs. This is my hiking pack. It is a Kuiu Ultra 1800. I believe it's an 18-liter pack. What's nice about the Kuiu system is that I can get a new pack and just keep the frame. So I don't have to buy this frame over and over and over again. I can actually get like a 60-liter pack and use the same frame for it. But going through this one, essentially you've got a front pouch here, and this front pouch is just kind of goes up and down here. You've got the main area, which, you know, just for carrying everything. So I've got my water bladder in here, and then obviously I was fishing recently, so I have fishing lures and things like that in there. So it's a nice pack that I can carry around just about anywhere. And with it being relatively small, I don't have to worry about how heavy it's going to get for the most part. There's a couple of bottle canister or bottle holders on the sides. The last pouch is just this top pouch here. Typically I keep a lighter. It's got my fishing license in it, and then some tinder for starting a fire if necessary. It's got a bunch of little loops on it. So I keep a pair of forceps on here for removing hooks from fish, things like that. And then I've added a couple of little things here. So I have a carabiner on the side here that I use for if I have the dogs with me. I'll hook their leashes to that, and that way I don't have to hold them the whole time. A lot of times on this side, I'll actually put a like a flashlight pouch and flashlight, so I have those with me. On the back, it's a relatively well padded pack, so this is all part of the frame system here. So I don't ever, you can replace this if you needed to, but you don't have to replace it. So moving to a larger pack, I don't all of a sudden have to get new straps or anything like that. Waistband is relatively well adjustable. And just in general, this has been a really good pack for me. A lot of times it does get used for just fishing gear, but if I'm on a hike, I'll throw some other stuff in there as well. Sweatshirts, things like that. So I can kind of level up if I need to, if it gets cool out. The one thing that I don't have here right now is this actually has a waterproof like poncho that goes over it, because the bag itself is not waterproof. So I do have that piece as well if it starts raining, to keep everything inside dry. But again, I think the nice thing about it is it's a really nice pack. It's held up really well. I've had it for probably 5 years. And if it got to that point, I could upgrade the pack and not have to do anything about the frame. The next thing we bring with us, and this is a relatively new addition for both Emily and I, is hiking poles. But I will tell you that hiking Big Meadows Reservoir, these kind of saved me, because it gave you something to balance on while going kind of up and down and on small washed out paths. So Emily got a set of Yeti poles, which I think we've kind of seen are about the nicest you can get. And she's been using those. I bought a pair of REI Co-op poles, mostly because I really like the grips on these. So I looked at Yeti, I like them, but ultimately these grips were a little bit better for me, so I got those. The only addition to these that we have done, and we've done it on both of them, is this little connector here. This is called Quick Sticks, or the company is Quick Sticks. And it's kind of nice. It gives you a bipod if you need it. used for people that are hunting, but also keeps them connected so you don't have to worry about them coming apart while traveling. So just kind of a nice little tool there. Emily has some like rubber pieces on the end of hers right now, and that's really so you can use them on concrete without messing up the tips, but they are nice to have. The last thing I'll say on these is that the REI poles come with a couple of different guards for the end. So it comes with like a mud guard and a snow guard. So the snow guard being really wide and the mud guard being a little bit smaller, probably similar to the ones that are on Emily's right now. Most of the hiking we're doing, I don't use guards at all, but they did come with those just in the event that we wanted them. So that was number 2. Number 3 on our list is first aid kits. This one has gotten use for our dogs, not for either of us, but we do think it's kind of critical to have a first aid kit with quite a bit in it in the event that something does go wrong. I'll talk about what we have used it for in the past. This is one I keep in my car most of the time, but then when we are when we're hiking or anything like that, I'll carry it with me. I've kind of built a little bit of this over time. So some of it came in an original kit and some of it is things that I wanted in here. So gauze, this has been replaced many times. Tape has been replaced many times. Self-adhesive tape. It's self-adhesive is a bad way of saying it. It only adheres to itself. But this is a nice one if you ever have to wrap a wound in gauze. This will keep it on there without having to be sticky. A bunch of Band-Aids, things like that. We've got triple antibiotic here for any kind of wound. I'm looking for something specific, but a solar blanket, all kinds of stuff like that. Tourniquet, alcohol wipes, and this is specifically what I was looking for. So something that really would have saved us a couple of years ago. We were camping in North Nevada, and Olive got into it with Lou over her food, and Lou won the fight. So Olive's ear became detached a little bit right here at the lobe, where my lobe is, but I guess her whole ear is there. And we could not stop the bleeding. We had gauze on it. We were really trying to stop that bleeding. But we couldn't even find a vet in the area that could take care of her. And so we gauzed it. We kept her overnight, trying to keep that bleeding down. Ultimately, we ended up waking up the next morning. It was still bleeding quite a bit. So we got in the car and actually drove back to Las Vegas where we lived to see our vet. But that's just kind of one of those reasons why we think it's so critical to have a first aid kit with us while we're traveling. We're lucky enough that nothing has ever happened to either of us, but we have needed it for the dog. I guess as another side note, we've had to use the first aid kit here at home. Olive split open her pad and was bleeding profusely. So we did use it at that point, and that's really why the gauze had to be replaced. We used so much gauze in that instance that we had to just go out and get more. So that's one of the first aid kits. I like this pack specifically. This is going to get loud for a second, but I like this pack because I can kind of clip it onto my hiking pack and just tear it off because of that Velcro on the back. So it's kind of quick to get where you need it. If it's on your back, you can throw your bag on the ground and rip it off. Or if it's if you're 10 feet away from your pack, you can run, grab it really quickly and get back. Emily has another first aid kit that she carries with us on hikes. So a little bit of the same thing here. Gauze, self-adhesive tape, a rubber band for some reason, alcohol wipes, that kind of stuff. So yeah, first aid kits, definitely a necessity when you're out camping. Number 4 is, it's a couple of things, but really it was focused on this Yeti cooler here. So we had just used like a cheap Igloo cooler for a long time. And then about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we went to Yellowstone, and one of the things that they have listed is that if you have a cooler with food in it, that it needs to be bear proof. Our Yeti cooler, or not our Yeti, but our Igloo cooler was specifically not going to be bear proof. That thing, you barely had to have a small breeze to open it. So we went out and tried to figure out what we were going to do. We had been gifted a Yeti coffee mug years prior by a general manager that both of us actually worked for. And it would keep coffee hot the whole day. So I could make coffee in the morning, have it in my truck, and at the end of the day, go pick it up, and it would still be relatively warm, definitely drinkable. And so we kind of got into a conversation about, did we want to get a Yeti cooler? We had always been of the opinion that they were a bit too expensive, but having talked to some owners of Yeti coolers, as well as having owned these coffee mugs, we decided that it was okay to go and invest in it. So we got this Yeti cooler when we went on that trip. What makes it bear proof is, I guess, number one, the seal here that keeps the smell and everything inside. But then also that it is lockable, so it can't be opened. So I'm going to flip it down a little bit. This is a 45, and hopefully it's pretty well readable or seeable here. It's relatively basic. It just has these really thick sidewalls to insulate and keep it from losing too much heat or too much cool, I guess, or letting heat in. But this has done really well for us. We went on a trip to New Mexico and southern Colorado, southwestern Colorado, over the summer. We filled this up with our food, our ice, our drinks on day 1. And on day 4, we still had ice. We still had a lot of cool. And we refilled at that point because we were driving through a town, so we went and grabbed some ice. But it's done really well for us. We've never had an issue. We took this to North Dakota with us, and in North Dakota on day 3 or 4, there was still enough ice in here that Bosley went bobbing for ice. It was a lot of fun. So there's that. Probably the last thing that we picked up from Yeti were these tumblers, or I guess this is the tumbler, this is the Rambler. And these are nice because they'll keep drinks cool for quite a long time. I've heard that you don't want to put soda or anything in them, but most of the time all we're drinking out of these is water. So we have a couple of these between Emily and I, and they've done really well for us. There's a couple of different lid options. So we actually have one for coffee. So it's got like a lid that'll let you pour. We have this lid, and I think, we have a lid with a straw on it. So those are kind of nice. We also, for normal water bottles, have grabbed these, which I think they call the Yonder bottle. These are nice. They weren't as nice, I would say. They used to have a lid like this on them, where you basically had to pull it off, this kind of heavy, bulky lid. Great for keeping stuff cool for a long time. These were a bit of a pain. They have since released this lid where it just kind of screws on and off. It's got a little tether on it so you don't lose your lid, and it's been good. So that's number 4. The last thing on our list, making this number 5, is games. And for Emily and I, we try to focus on games that are 2-player games or can be 2-player games that are then expandable, that other people can come play with you if you happen to be traveling with others. So here we have Pandemic, Yahtzee, Farkle, and a deck of cards. We also have in our trailer a game called Doomlings, and we have in the trailer a game called Spots, and those are really good games for 2 people, as well as if other people join us. We think it's important to have games, and highlighted very well by our trip to New Mexico recently. It rained for basically every night for 3 days, and a little bit during the day as well. So it was nice to have something where we could sit down and actually just do something that was, for us, inside the trailer, but kept us occupied without wanting to watch a movie or TV or anything like that, which we wouldn't have gotten there anyway, but these are nice to have. We specifically have a trailer, and so it's easy to kind of carry around multiple games, but understandably a lot of people don't. I still think it's worth having something with you as entertainment so that you're not stuck in a tent or in your trailer trying to figure out what to do. So these are 5 things that we like taking on our camping trips to make it more better. We would love to hear what other people are taking on their trips or what you think are necessities. We're going to give you one bonus, and that's a nighttime thing, but we'll get that filmed a little bit later so you can see what that is as well. So we have a quick bonus item, and this is a bonus item because of where we were staying in New Mexico. There were 0 lights, and so we were at my brother's trailer at some point trying to walk home and had 0 light. So one of the bonus items that we have is our flashlights. So this is an Anchor flashlight. It's rechargeable. We really like these. So this is what I carry on my pack when we do hike. So the second thing here, which is also a light, but something that we think is kind of going to become a requirement for us, is these. They're Devos lights, Devos. We met these guys at the Overland Expo in Loveland, Colorado. So this is really just a tripod, but these lights here would have saved us when we were in New Mexico camping. We ran out of light, and so we had to actually move into trailers to finish playing games and things like that. Versus, really, at some point, we could have used these. I'm going to try to show you how bright this is. I know it's daytime, and we'll get some night shots for you. But this actually would have saved us, and we could have put this up overhead and still played at night. So these are 2 bonus items that, this one is already something that we carry with us. This is something new to our pack that we think is going to quickly become a necessity. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you carry with you. We're interested to hear.